Hi, Popcorn Junkies. A big night for the trailer releases. And between doing The Flash and this, we haven't been abducted by aliens. There were some funny comments on online on social media talking about whether they were coming to see, maybe they were going to take over the planet in order to see Rihanna. What would you do if you saw an alien craft, or if you knew UFOs? Are you excited by the prospect of UFOs? I think if we all had to go out in a way that was different, it would be the first generation, wouldn't it, to kind of be abducted by aliens. But my issue with the whole story as it's evolving is, if they were proper UFOs, would they have sort of paltry little kind of jets and what have you be able to shoot them down? Unless, of course, they are aliens as little search engines, or little kind of drones. They might be drones, but how do we know they're not drones from outer space? I mean, as if aliens are going to come straight in. Aliens are going to go, let's test the water. But anyway, haven't heard anything else from Uruguay. Haven't heard anything else from anywhere else. China have been talking about possibly shooting a UFO down for 9 hours, so it's highly unlikely they're going to. Anyway, so as we entertain thoughts of that in the real world, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. The trailer has landed. The Super Bowl trailer, a new trailer. Now, me and Maddie reacted to the last trailer, and I have to confess, there was a real sort of aspect to it. James Gunn, again, obviously we're talking about James Gunn, who's head of DC Films now, looking after The Flash, etc. This is James Gunn's last outing with the Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn being the director. And there was very much a flavour or a sense, or threaded through the last trailer was an incoming sense of loss, death. Certain characters you felt were kind of, on the way out. I felt a particular vulnerability around Rocket Raccoon. I wondered whether there could be some vulnerability around Groot. I've got a funny feeling Drax might want to go, mainly because I know Dave Bautista wants to appear in a rom-com. Curious, I know. And so there's just that sense that, when you've got a director like James Gunn, let's not forget his reboot of Suicide Squad. We lost most of the characters, most of the big named characters in the first 6 minutes. I don't think he's going to be afraid, and I don't think the cast are going to be afraid, and I don't think Marvel will be afraid to make some really harsh decisions in this, which is kind of heartbreaking, because I feel this is this generation's Star Wars. And how would we have all felt if Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and all those kind of emblematic characters, iconic characters, had gone in any of those earlier films? So I think this is going to be a real denouement. This is going to be a real end. I think some of the surviving characters may pop up in Marvel elsewhere, but for me, if I'm honest, with Ant-Man about to come out, I think Guardians of the Galaxy has been Marvel at its best. And yet, unfortunately, one can't pretend that isn't mainly the consequence of James Gunn's particularly anarchic and unprecious vision, in a sense, for these characters and the world. So it's a world I don't want to lose, and it's a world that I'm sad is going to go. And I have to confess, I find myself a little bit more disillusioned with each new superhero film that comes along, which is why I'm kind of more excited almost at the moment about what DC can do with things like the Joker sequel, the Batman, which I thought was really rich, even the Flash. I quite like the Flash trailer. So I feel I'm going to like this. Let's see if we're going to get any more clues as to what the fate of our favourite characters are, our favourite group of misfits, shitheads, or whatever they were called in the first film. This has been, my girls have grown up with Guardians of the Galaxy. This is their generation's space opera, and I feel a bit sad about it.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm Star-Lord. I formed the Guardians. Met a girl, fell in love. That girl died. But then she came back. Came back a total dick.
Oh, please.
He left out some important information, but that is the gist of it.
I get the same old dreams, same time every night. Fall to the ground and I wake up.
My sacred mission
Is to create the perfect society.
He didn't want to make things perfect. He just hated things the way they are.
I want you all to know that I'm grateful to fight beside my friends.
Incinerate them.
Always searching for a family until we found each other.
Are you ready for one last ride?
fly away together.
Into the forever and beautiful sky.
Whoever it was that you were in love with, it sounds more like her.
Her? That's ridiculous.
Do not bring me into this.
Knock it off!
What?
Just never noticed how black your eyes were.
They were replaced by my father as a method of torture.
He picked a pretty set.
I'm excited, but I wasn't as excited by that trailer as I was by the first one. Will Poulter in there. I forget his character, but it's a pretty key one. Will Poulter's hair looking incredibly sort of, fine and floppy. They spread the potential there, didn't they? I love the potential for whose characters are going to sort of like go and demise. Could it be all of them? Could it be all of them? Could they all go in a sort of big suicide mission? Let's not beat around the bush here. James Gunn's pretty familiar with that sort of strategy. Drax looking emotional, as Zoe Saldaña's character looking, she's kind of got quite greasy hair, hasn't she? She looks particularly down on her luck. I didn't find the exchanges between them all as funny as I think they could have been. So, part of me has over the years wondered whether Chris Pratt has got a little bit too serious. I think there was something anarchic about him to begin with, and when he wasn't a major star, he could get away with doing this sort of stuff. But now, I just feel like he's a bit self-conscious, isn't he? I mean, he's a bit too. There he is. See him? He's a bit too sort of self-aware, and I wonder whether that means he can't be as naturally funny. What other things in there? The otter. I mean, seeing baby Rocket Raccoon getting his number tattooed onto him. His origin story, but could this be his end story? The otter. I mean, a sort of genetically modified otter. I mean, what not? I fucking love otters with their rubbery little fingers. I wonder if he's got rubbery little fingers. That would be fantastic. Clearly Star-Lord being carried at the end. Maybe this is Chris Pratt's entrance, exit, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's the end of him. Saw the villain in there, wasn't particularly clear. I like the 1980s spacesuits. They're flying out and all the bright colours. It was all a bit tasteless and a bit cheesy. Struggling to identify the song that James Gunn says he spent an enormous amount of time getting the soundtrack on this right. The soundtracks on the last two films have been so superbly sort of chained to the tone and mood and humour, if you like, of each film. So hopefully that continues. It's always colourful. It's always garish. It's always kind of 80s, isn't it? It's always kind of, footloose and all that kind of stuff. I'm so excited about that film, but I have to say I preferred the first trailer to this one. What are your thoughts, guys?